Larry Ivory is out today on Chamber Business, and we totally appreciate you guys tuning in with us each and every month, or each and every week, rather. Yep, technical difficulties are worked out and we are ready to roll. I'm so happy. Okay, so share the show. If you're on Facebook Live, if you're on YouTube, share the show. We really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get started. Hey, just because Larry's out on Chamber Business, we still have our little known history facts, and that is given to us by human rights active, or should I say human rights consultant and human trafficking consultant, Mr. Lorenzo T. Hughes. Welcome to the show, Lorenzo, once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, LaDonna. It's always a pleasure to be on the Wake Up Show. And good morning to all the guests and people that are listening in on the Wake Up Show. Uh, like I've always said, it's always interesting, researching and trying to look at some of the historical facts about Black business. But like I said, I want to go ahead before I get started. Start the way I always start. Never before the pages of history has a nation of people been so consumed by the ways and customs of another culture of people. Um, and when I say that, I'm constantly trying to remind us that we are always, or we have been, uh, uh, living under the customs of another culture. And you're going to kind of see that when I start this little known Black history fact. Many people know about the few famous Black entrepreneurs such as Madam C.J. Walker and Robert F. Smith, but there are dozens of lesser known examples that reveal a pattern. Black business owners ha- often succeeded despite barriers involving access to capital, markets, property ownership, licensing, insurance, banking, and public perception. Many of those challenges still exist, but in different forms today. White owned banks often refuse loans to Black entrepreneurs. Many businesses uh, had to rely on community lending and personal relationships. Studies continue to show that Black owned businesses are more likely to face loan denials, receive smaller loans, and pay higher borrowing costs than similar qualified white owned businesses. Black insurance companies were created because of major companies refusing coverage. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, many insurance companies refused to insure Black customers or charging significantly higher rates. Entrepreneurs responded by creating firms such as the North Carolina Mutual Fund Insurance Company, which became one of the largest Black owned businesses in America. Obstacles then were the exclusion from mainstream financial services. And what we're looking at today, many Black entrepreneurs still report difficulties obtaining venture capital, commercial lending, and favorable insurance terms. Black inventors often had their ideas stolen, or they were undercredited. Inventors such as Granville T. Woods and Lewis Latimer faced patent challenges, discrimination, and legal battles despite creating valuable technologies. The obstacles then, it was the lack of legal protection and equal access to courts and investors. Obstacles today, many entrepreneurs struggle with intellectual property protection, funding, and scaling innovations without major institutional backing. Black owned farmers once owned millions more acres than they do today. Around the early 1900s, Black Americans owned millions of acres of farmland. Over generations, much of that land was lost through discriminatory lending practices, legal disputes, tax sales, violence, and here's property complications. Those obstacles then, those the obstacles then was the difficulty securing agricultural loans and defending property rights. The similar obstacles today, property retention, real estate development, and access to investment capital, remain major concerns from many Black families and business owners. And what I want to say, LaDonna, even though we look at those as being historical events, what I'm noticing when I look at these historical facts is I start to question myself, are these historical facts or are they trending facts? Because when I look at these historical facts, I see that we are still running through this hamster wheel and dealing with what we call history. History is, to me, is something that has happened in the past, and it's in the past, and we hear this time and time again. Well, that was then. That's in the past. Why are you bringing up old stuff? Why are we? But it's something that is still happening, and we're dealing with it and fighting against it today. And that's our little known Black history fact.
You know what? See, as you're talking, what stands out to me is that names change. We don't say, give me some skins anymore, but we say, give me five or whatever we say now. It just keeps evolving. The technology evolves and
Hmm.
changes, the industries change, but the barriers are
Hmm.
still the same. You know,
Right.
I'll never forget the cover of a Time magazine where we were protesting as Black Americans, and I believe it was back in the 60s. And then they showed it as it progressed over the years, and it was the exact same thing. So when we look at Black inventors, and even last week we talked about Black farming, Black business owners, Black entrepreneurs, just throughout history, we're not even talking about isolated incidents. We're talking about patterns if you look at it from that vantage point. So the question becomes, Lorenzo, why do these patterns keep repeating themselves? 100 years ago, Black Americans struggled to access money or capital.
Hmm.
And today we
Hmm.
still struggle to access capital. So 100 years ago, Black inventors had difficulty protecting and monetizing their ideas. Same thing happens now, especially with intellectual property. So why
Absolutely.
is this still happening?
You
And
know,
yeah,
I, I want to say this. When I like I said, when I'm looking over some of these facts or trying to come up with something that I can drive home to our listeners, I'm starting to notice that we are the capital, right?
mm,
We have built wealth for almost every culture and every nation around the world. But what I'm noticing is for some reason we have not chosen to or submitted to the possibility of building wealth for ourselves. And what I'm saying is that we have been a slave to every nation but us, right? And I know the term and the word slave sounds horrible, but if you could turn that, and we've heard this before, turn our love inward or turn our talent inward and help build wealth for ourselves, because we're doing it for every other nation, every other group of people. We are building them wealth. We are giving our talent, our skills, our creativity to other people so that they can have wealth. We're getting degrees and we're using our education to build wealth and knowledge and kingdoms for other people but ourselves. And that's the painful and challenging uh, 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 fact, reality for me.
yeah, definitely a challenging reality for us all. And how do we? You said when you said we got these degrees, these accomplishments to build wealth. I almost interrupted you until you said for others. So true. Um, we have a high profile case that everybody knows about. We're talking about with Carmelo Anthony and his the victim. Um,
Hmm.
and because the victim, his name escapes my mind. I said it all day yesterday. Because the victim was white and he was Black, it has turned into a black and white issue when it's really not. But
Hmm.
when I think about how hard we are going to prove his innocence, everybody's coming together saying, the jury this, and he was defending himself. And so many different things that the Black community is coming together on. And I'd like to say after the fact, coming together after the fact, simply because they are pulling together as a community. And where was the community before this happened? I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but you know how you leave a piece of food on the floor overnight and you wake up and there's a mountain hill of ants?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that's how our community is working against itself. We are very reactive instead of proactive. Where was the village before this all happened? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Where is the village before a store goes out of business? Where is the village before the corporation, the black corporation goes out of business? Where's the village before a lawmaker that is for black people gets in trouble for something that they didn't do? I'm not going to say any names today, but I know specifically a lawmaker that got in trouble that was for black business and now they are no longer in office.
Right.
We got a couple of callers on the line, but before I get to them, I certainly want to make sure that you guys know you can give us a call at 773-591-1690. And we are still taking calls even though Larry is out. And like I said, he is on Chamber Business. But the question about today's show was, what's next? Like what's next for us? Because we see the fires burning everywhere, but we can only put one fire out at a time, if any. And I think we're getting distracted by a new fire that goes up in flames. So with that being said, the future feels uncertain when we have fires burning all around us. We've got inflation, and these are business concerns. The cost of inflation is ridiculous. Like we're looking at the cost of eggs. It's more than that. It's the cost of everything, parts for your car, the should I say delivery fees, workforce development. Everything is going up except for that interest on my savings account didn't go up, which that's like putting it under a mattress. But businesses are concerned about inflation, interest rates, AI. Okay, let's not forget that, workforce changes, government spending, contract opportunities or the lack thereof, and the future of diversity programs, which we have heard clearly that they are being unraveled and removed. And that just creates a platform of uncertainty. When I was younger, Lorenzo, I remember saying, I feel like black people are renting space here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it feels to you? Like we're renting space here?
It does feel that way. Absolutely.
Huh. Let me grab a caller. Hey, Mike, you're live on the Wake Up Show Chicago. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I
You're
want
live.
to thank you for your service and time. Seems like we're getting a little feedback.
Your phone's going in and out, and I wasn't able to understand what you said. I apologize.
I say, look like we're getting a little feedback.
You're getting feedback right now?
Not yes.
Is that because you have your radio turned up, or are you getting feedback on our live?
Let me take you off the speaker. Maybe that will change.
Okay, let's try that.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
That sounds better. Still feedback or no?
Even though I can barely hear you, but I'm coming through. What you're talking about, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think all black people would agree because we're dealing with common sense. All of us have 5 senses, and we can see and hear some things going over and over and over, not changing. For the change to take place that we're concerned about, I think we need to focus on now and principles that we need to have for things to change. But if we just focus on what has happened and not relate to what we need to happen individually, how best to cover your own black ass, because it's always different for a black person than it is for other people. They have some things they have to do to cover themselves, but we have some things to do to cover ourselves differently than others. And we need to focus on that because some of the same things we want now was the same things that we wanted back in
I
1934.
agree that, and
Better
I guess
schools, better housing, and more jobs. So we need to focus on how to get those things, what to do. We are working for them and work for some of them. Some improvement has taken place, but not enough for us to be where we want to be. And those are just our facts.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
hmm
Yeah.
I,
I
you
hear the
know, I
feedback too, but Mike, go ahead. You can hang up. Go ahead, and Lorenzo.
yeah, I agree with Mike. It's really the challenge falls in how do we change our mindset when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. And if you look at a lot of the foreign cultures, when you look at East Indian, when you look at the Arab community, and you look at the Asian community, you rarely see them working for someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? You rarely go somewhere and you see them as an employee to some other corporation. Usually they're employees in the family business. They're usually employees in the family business. Our mindset, we're taught to go to school, to get an education, and to get a job. Other cultures are taught to go to school, get an education, and to start a business.
Or come into the
Um,
family business.
Absolutely
Yeah.
right. And and I get it. Yes, we talk about getting jobs and yes, you should get a job, but you should teach. We have to program our minds. If you're going to get a job, you should get a job to fund your business.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that when you get that job and you're working for someone else, you're learning the inner workings and the inner operations of that job or that corporation, and you're putting money aside so that you can start your own business or fund your kids' business or to fund your wife or your husband's business.
Yeah.
So it's really trying to break the shackle of dependency on other businesses and dependency on a job for self sustainability.
Heck, I think we need to break the shackle for because I went through a neighborhood yesterday and they were farming for real. And they didn't look like us. They were farming for real. They had llamas, they had rows of corn, they had a garden. It was just, they had bought this land and that is what they're doing. And it was very private. It didn't seem like a public farm. We've got a lot of callers, so let's go ahead and grab them just in
Yes, yes.
order. Shapira, can you give us the
Hey,
person that's been holding the longest? Because I'm not able to tell remotely.
hello.
Caller, you're on WVON live on the Wake Up Show Chicago. Good morning.
What's going on, young people? This is Art. How are you?
Okay, I'm not sure. Just is it Art?
Hello? Yes. Can you hear me?
Art, you're on WVON.
You can hear me? Hello?
Is it Cliff? Is it Deborah? Martha?
No, it's Art. Can you hear me?
Shapira, help me out. I need to know who these callers are so when they come through, they can come through.
Hello?
Okay, caller, you're live on the Wake Up Show.
Hello?
Hey, caller, what's on your mind?
Say
Oh,
something now.
hello?
There we go. We got you now. Hi, caller.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Art. Good
How are you? This
morning.
is Art. All right. Good morning to you both. I agree with you 100%. At the end of the day, the reason why the things that we do, that we put energy into is racism. Racism defocuses you on taking care of family. That's the first thing. Then the next thing they put you up on, they go, the black man and the black woman is against each other. So anytime the black woman is being attacked, then here comes to rally. Then ratchet behavior. That's the next thing that they put you on. So you defend ratchet behavior, bad behavior. Just take that. So at the end of the day, these are the three things that I see that we focus on. It doesn't make any sense besides focusing on one thing, as Brother Lorenzo and you say, God, the black man, the black woman, and black children.
rebuilding and strengthening the black family. So until we put all of our energy into that, we will not be successful because we see other ethnicities focus on their family and we focus on all the foolishness, like trying to defend, not to say that the jury all white, whatever. I think that's all a thing to get them off anyway, because if the jury is imbalanced, that's the next thing you know, you can get your case retried. But at the end of the day, the young man would have never stabbed the individual because he was pushed for an altercation. He could have simply just walked away, but he did not. But we're going to defend that because it's popular and it makes money. I leave it at that, and what now? Focus on rebuilding the black family. God bless.
All right. So I do push back on that just a tad. I agree. See, the focus is not even on the trial. The focus is on the fact that America has made it a black and white issue. And then we took it to how the black community is coming together for the purpose of proving the self-defense stance for Mr. Carmelo Anthony. The way we came together, or the way the black community has come together to fight that fight, I would like to see that energy put into multiple places where we need the most help. That was the point of mentioning that. The fact that he could have walked away and all of those things is not part of this conversation, even though hindsight is 2020, as they even told me when I brought that up. So that's a good point, but I want to stay focused on the fact that look at the unity and we are coming together as a reactive stance versus a proactive stance. And not all black people are focused on being ratchet. I know I'm not. Let's go ahead into the next caller. Let's grab Cliff. Hi, Cliff. You're live on the Wake Up Show.
Hi, LaDonna. You know what? Art does make a good point when he talks about black family. And since you brought it up, this wasn't a good example of a black family. You had with Carmelo's family, you had a father and a mother who left Louisiana and came and relocated to another community, and which was pretty much diverse, I guess.
Yeah.
But here he is, in terms of looking for a better life. And so the fact of the matter is that was race an issue? Was this young man attacked because he was black and harassed and bullied? And I'd say without a doubt he was. And so to defend himself, how would anybody defend himself if he was constantly being attacked and bullied?
I have a question for you. For you. If my mom, which my mother did, inserts me into an all-white community where I'm really not wanted, what am I expecting? Am I expecting them to just leave me alone like Michael Jackson? Or do I prepare my children for what's to come? Do I prepare my children to say, listen, let me land my plane. Because I remember when my mother took me to Soul Queen over on Stony Island in Chicago, when I was being consistently bullied. And the only reason she found out about it was because I told my grandmother. My grandmother told my mother, and my mother said, I don't care if you cuss. I need you to tell me what's going on in that school. And when I told my mother what was going on, she made another move, and that was to pull me out of the school. Had she left me there and left me there to fend for myself, who knows what that could have done to me psychologically or even worse. So, and I'm not blaming anyone. Yes, he came from a 2-parent home. They were working families. They were able to afford the lifestyle that they provided for their child. But where's the preparation? Where is, okay, son, look, we just moved into this all white neighborhood or mostly white neighborhood. You know what the percentage is in your school, and you know we have to prepare our children for how to handle disagreements. They are running straight for a gun or a weapon because of social media and all of the people that are in their ear besides you as the parent. So that is my stance on that. What was he supposed to do?
LaDonna, all I'm simply saying is that I myself experienced the same situation going to an all-white school, being an all-white environment. And my middle name was nigga. Every day, nigga this, nigga that. I had to fight. My brother and I had to fight. And that's why I take this so personal, because we had to fight. Not.
But you fight to live another day, right?
We had to fight old drunk white boys, poor white trash. We had to do it because they had nothing else better to do. So the point I'm making is that
did you stab anybody? Did you stab anybody?
But why was I the target though? If
because
race
you were
has
black.
nothing to do with this, Okay, but that's my whole point.
What's the
And that's what
problem?
sometimes white people don't understand when they say race has nothing to do with it. And what's even more disturbing is when Negroes sit up there and say race has nothing to do with it. This
Listen to
whole
me.
thing was about
Listen to
initiated
me.
a race.
Listen to me, Cliff.
That makes any sense.
It doesn't matter if I say it or not, whether it was or wasn't. He still chose to take a life. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. It
Right, I
doesn't matter
understand that,
if
but
it
what
was
I'm saying,
okay.
it
We can
wasn't like
wait.
it
Hold on,
wasn't
Cliff.
LaDonna.
We can go back to. Well, it's because he was black. Okay, we know this. It's like we want them to admit and we want them to apologize. I don't expect devils to do that. I don't expect people that don't like me to do that. Since when does a bully admit to bullying you? I don't expect it. So therefore, I'm not going to be disappointed. I forgot what show this is. I apologize. I have to represent the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. Cliff, thank you so much for your call. Let's go ahead and move on to Deborah. I'm sorry. I got in my feeling. Yeah. Deborah, how you doing?
Yes,
Guys, you can, of course, you can go to
I'm well, thank you.
ilbcc.org. You can go to ilbcc.org. If you want to join the Chamber of Commerce, I did forget for a second what show this was. I got in my feelings. How you doing, Miss Deborah? Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Raeh. I, in fact, the business side I see, and as well as Brother Cliff and Art, and yeah, and I pray that there will be a day that we can come together where we are organized, galvanized, and help our people to understand, educate, and especially in business. Um, it's personal for me that I, as a young girl, before I moved into an environment, it wasn't predominantly white that I moved into. In fact, it was into housing. But as a little girl, I saw a black entrepreneur, black businessman that had a gas station, black gas station. This man was prosperous. What happened to perhaps that's what you, Dr. Ivory, Brother Lorenzo, and good morning to both of you, forgive me, can find out because we can't go forth, we can't solve a problem if we don't know where to begin looking.
I agree with that.
What happened to our businesses? And that's all of them because Chicago was a harbinger. The Bronzeville and all, but once we had those who, from dailies especially, would allow for individuals to help sell us out. Middle Easterners came over and took over the gas station industry. What happened to our black gas station owners?
Yeah.
Lastly, if I could say, as far as I had a situation where my life was, I thought, was in harm's way. It really wasn't that deep. I never told anyone, but the extremes that I would have went to, but by God's grace and mercy. So I just pray for a better day for us all. Thank you for what you're doing. Please research what happened to us so that we can go forward.
Absolutely.
Dr. Raeh, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Deborah. You know, I know what she's talking about, Lorenzo. Here in Chicago, because I know you're not from Chicago, but I remember when there was a black-owned gas station just about in every community, especially the one I grew up in. The one I grew up in, the black gas station was located on 75th and Indiana, or maybe that was 74th in Indiana. But what happened, I was also a black-owned business that was around for 42 years. And what happened to us, because I don't know what happened to them, we sell our businesses or we lose our businesses. And why is that? She said that those business owners were prosperous. They may have gotten tired of the riffraff and decided to retire and sell. Now, it makes more sense to leave your business to the next generation. For some reason, Lorenzo T. Hughes, the next generation's not interested. They don't want to take it on. They don't even want to take on the home you leave them. Okay. And let me just land this plane. When you're not able to leave that business to your children, I remember the saying that said, don't leave it to your children if you want to keep it, leave it to your grandchildren. Now the grandchildren don't want it either. So they were forced to sell. I know when we had a grocery store, we were hit every other season when they did sweeps to give people tickets. I started feeling like we were targeted. And those tickets, we're not talking about $30 and $40 tickets. We're talking thousands of dollars per day tickets. Things that you think you got ahead of, but they found something and now they want to take you to court. Those court costs go so big, we were forced to sell. We sold to another black family, and that black family did not do right by the business. They only held on to it for a shell company as a corporation, got all the loans and money and funding they could get. They never reopened, and we had to take the property back. We owned the property. We had to take the business back because they did wrong by the name of the business. I feel like it was in like barbershop. He said, I promised I wouldn't change the name. And he made it a strip club, So she made it a some type of laundromat, if you know what I'm saying. Go ahead, Lorenzo.
To kind of throw a little bit of an answer to Deborah's question. But first of all, I want to say I love Cliff's his passion and everything, but and I'm gonna come back to him here shortly. But to kind of answer a little bit of what Deborah was asking is, we have to, if we look at our communities, right? Like if you think about our neighborhoods, right? Because a lot of these businesses came up in our neighborhoods. And I remember the black servicemen. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. I remember the brother coming out to pump the gas and wipe the window and to check your oil. The brother with the ashy knuckles and the calluses on his hands. I remember him vividly, as a kid. But to kind of answer Deborah's question, to get back to that, we have to look at the word neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the word neighborhood. If you take the word neighbor out of neighborhood, what do you got left?
Hood?
Yep, you have a hood. And what has happened is we done took the neighbor out of the word neighborhood. So now we just live in a hood. And once we get back to becoming neighborly to our neighbors, now we can have discussions, private discussions, not getting on the radio and advertising to the world what our next move is going to be, but we can do it in private on what we need to do in our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
If you have all of these foreign businesses infiltrating your neighborhood and they mistreating you, and they know they can do it because we
have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, we need to shop at their places.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have private discussions in private on what we're going to do, not get on the radio and start talking about what we need to do, because our enemies listen.
Oh yeah, they listen and comment. As a matter of fact, we did a clean up neighborhood an initiative with Sel Dunlap. Do you remember? And when we went over there, I went and interviewed the neighborhood fish place, one of those fried fish, you know what I'm talking about. And they had absolutely no relationship with the neighborhood. And see, black businesses had relationship with the neighborhoods. And that is because with them having a relationship with us, they got to know you as you grew up. I remember going to the corner store and they knew me from yay high. Okay. And as I grew older, you go back and you visit them and you continue to support them. And that is a neighborhood and that's a community. But we've gotten away from that, Lorenzo. I moved into many neighborhoods or I don't want to say hoods, but there's a disconnect in relationship when it comes to people's own homes, let alone people's own neighborhoods. Let's go ahead and grab the next caller. We got Martha on the line. Miss Martha, is that Martha Lewis? Or Martha?
No.
Oh, it's Martha. Hi, Martha.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So this is what I have to say to you and Obadeli. We don't have too many African American radio stations in America, so I'm quite sure some of Carmelo Anthony's parents, friends, ministers could be listening to WVON. I'm just asking, can you and Obadeli have a little act when you're talking about Carmelo Anthony, him being guilty? Because it's like you guys, you didn't go into him real hard on this station, but when you were when you and Akiba was talking, you went really hard on them. Now, you have a right for your opinion, but it's a way you do it. Be tactful because people are listening. You are a black woman, and I think you said you had a black son.
I have four
That's
of
all on
them.
that. Have a
So
little
let me
tact.
ask you a question, Miss Martha. Should I, if I see a situation and I wish they were listening, it's not a matter of me wishing that harm would come to him. I stood up for him, Miss Martha, when the gentleman made a comment saying that he's going to be Carmelo's sweetness Anthony. I stood up for him. I'm this is what I'm talking about. We have no relationship with people, and now they don't understand where we come from. When I talk to my own children, I tell my kids in anytime I remember to tell them, don't take your own life and don't take someone else's unless, okay, unless they invade our home because that is our domain, you have a footing there. That's different. But when it comes to Carmelo Anthony's situation, all I have said since last year on the 2nd of April when it happened is that the knife that he used, he consciously put it in his bag and had the idea that he was going to possibly need it. And if you look at the situation, I'm using this situation to talk to my own children. Don't take a knife to a white fight. Because if, no matter how many of them it is, and you kill somebody, expect the outcome to not necessarily be in your favor. I don't know how much more tactful I can be. I can't coddle these people. I cannot coddle the situation. Do I feel sorry for him? Yes, I have a bleeding heart for that young man because I look at him and he looks like my son. But how much more do I wish that I had a conversation with him more than a year ago and told him and knew that this was going to happen? How much all of us wish we could have done that and told him, if you're ever in a situation, don't put yourself in a situation because the rain ain't going to kill you. The rain ain't going to kill you. I went to a rival school. I went to Thornwood. Let me say this, Miss Martha. Miss Martha, I went to Thornwood High School. Our rival was Thornridge High School.
But Miss LaDonna, do you ever let other people speak?
I do.
You
spoke.
You've
I
been
was still.
talking.
You interrupted me. Actually, you did
because
interrupt
you've been
me.
talking. You didn't give me a chance to talk, and other people are on the line. Do you realize how long you've been talking?
Wow, Miss Martha, thank you. You know what? I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay,
I have nothing more to say.
Let me say one more thing.
I have nothing more to say.
The evidence is showing that it just wasn't him. It was more than just the one student.
I know.
More than just the one student. You have to start listening to the other evidence. If there was more than one student, they say it was 2 of them was watching the coach to make sure that the coach didn't see what was going on, and 4 of them were around harassing him. That's the new evidence. And then the next thing, and then his racist father. But this is what I want to ask you. What position are you going to take when they do the appeal trial, because they're trying to appeal it, and they do more research and find out that it truly was self-defense?
That's a very good question. Thank you for your call. If he is able to appeal and go home, I will be so glad. I'm not wishing that he goes to jail. I'm saying that we need to prepare our children to avoid these situations. Let's go ahead and take I'm sorry, Lorenzo, did you want to respond? I can't believe we're talking about this on the Wake Up Show.
It's a lot to unpack, and I understand people's passion over it.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is, as I listen to this, and I think at the beginning of the show, I just presented a little known Black history fact.
Mm-hmm.
And in that little known Black history fact, I pointed out that we're dealing with the same discriminatory behaviors and racism that we call history, as if that same racism and discriminatory behavior does not exist. So what I'm saying when we have these conversations, you ignore the fact that racism exists, hatred exists, discrimination exists, and this is not even being about race. We see through pure examples that we have a group of people that don't want to live amongst us, do business with us, share society's the fruits of society with us, but we still expect them to treat us with a level of equality that we feel they should treat us with, even though they specifically are showing us this. So when we see this type of behavior and we think it's shocking and we subject our children to it, we're not teaching our children to avoid this culture or this type of people. We think we should force them into accepting us. Then they're not going to do it. And the legal system, which consists of that particular group of people, we expect justice that we've never gotten. That we've never gotten, as if justice is automatically going to happen for this particular circumstance. So what we have fallen victim to our own ignorance when we look at these type of situations. Man, I feel so, I'm hurt by the whole situation. But when I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah, we went toe to toe with skinheads and river rats, as they called them. They used to come across from Iowa. But that was being able to live and fight another day was the goal. But I avoided those type of people. In my parents, I grew up in a culture where my parents still taught us and warned us of these type of people. And it's not about it's the danger that comes with that culture. There's a danger that still exists. And we have not been able to change it. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Let's go on to the next caller.
All right. So that's all the callers. I'm trying to communicate with our board at the same time. I'm so glad that, Miss Martha explained. She said, you hardly let anybody talk. I know I can get real passionate about some things, especially when it comes to boys. But if in fact we had the opportunity to support anybody in our community, there's always a need for community, period. Whether it's business, a child, someone who's underage, someone who is of age, someone who is seasoned. We really need that opportunity to support our community. I have a problem with all of this. I'm not sitting here going, well, he shouldn't have stabbed him. He should just go to jail. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, well, in the situation that he was in, I wish he had taken another route. I even said, take the ass whipping. I did. Take it. Because that's what I would tell my own son. Too many people are getting beat.
Right.
And they're going to retaliate. And then we have nothing left. That's all I'm saying. And we do it even in our own community.
And to clarify real quick, I don't want anybody to think that you're talking about just lay down and take a butt whipping. I've lost fights. I grew up boxing, kickboxing, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay to walk away from a fight that you have lost. Even if you're outnumbered. I've been jumped. I've had 5+ people. You're not going to win that. Even a skilled fighter, it's tough to win. But what LaDonna is saying when she talk about take the butt, if you lose the fight, cool, you lost it. You lost the fight, live the fight another day. That's the goal. You want your children to come home, be able to come home. You want to be able to come home to your family. You lost the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You lost the fight. Your dignity should lie in the fact that you stood up to that particular person or that number of people. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. That's really, because I tell my kids, hey, fight, but don't. Yeah. It's not go get a taser, go get something that's gonna make it worse. Like, how can I make it better? We got a couple of comments out here. Yes, I just realized what you're up against. Okay, that's what Gloria said. Miss Carol Carter said, And Miss Martha, by the way, I apologize to you. Okay. All right. The passion, trust me. Stephanie Neely was treasurer for Chicago from 2006 to 2011. Her father had a gas station on 55th Street. When he retired, his children didn't want it because they educated in other skills. They were educated in other skills and they worked at the gas station while growing up. He could not find another black buyer. Exactly what I said. Carol Carter also said, when the owner of Chatham Foods, yes, I saw they were taken over by an Indian family. They said when the owner of Chatham Foods on 79th and Calumet Avenue was ready to retire, he and his wife came on WVON for over a year trying to find a whole out for, looks like, a new black buyer. No one came forward. His name was Mr. Leonard. Again, these things, I remember when we were looking for a new black owner for the grocery store, and we found, I still got the paperwork. We found her, but what she presented is not what she did, and that's why the grocery store is not open today. And that area became a food desert on 72nd and Woodline. The street is still named after Warren Robinson Sr., and but the grocery store is there no more. So it's tough. Guys, let me just close with the chamber business because we done went all the way to, man, my outline was totally different than what we ended up talking about today. And Lorenzo, I just want to thank you for being ride or die on this show and just in general and period. You bring so much value to any platform that you're on. And
Thank you.
absolutely. No, we thank you. I thank you. And along with that, I want to say that our listeners, you guys bring value. Even when you got to straighten me out, me, Dr. Larry Ivory, he's cool. It's me. But I'm the loose cannon. But I do have love for you guys and so much of it. I want to say thank you for listening each and every week on Saturday to the Wake Up Show Chicago right here on WVON 1690. Thank you so much for holding us accountable. Yes, that's right. Holding us accountable, letting us know who's listening. I hope they are. Absolutely. Because definitely there's a way and then there's another way. Okay. Along with that, make sure you share the show. Make sure you share the show. We are on VON's Facebook. We're on the Wake Up Show's Facebook, and we're also on YouTube for the Wake Up Show as well. Make sure you subscribe and keep the comments coming. I want to hear what you have to say. In addition to that, I will be doing a podcast on this whole thing when it comes to, yes, I saw the updated evidence. I've seen it all. I've been following it since April 2nd of 2025. And it breaks my heart. It does. If that was my kid, I can't coddle the decision, but I can hope for the best outcome and his safety for sure. But those comments about people, having ransom and all of that, I'm not with that. And especially from a correctional officer, as he calls himself, saying, oh yeah, they're going to have to pay ransom and they're going to make him he's new, he's young. Don't do that. Don't do that. I talked to Corey Wise from the Central Park 5, and you have no idea what goes on behind those closed doors. And if you do, and if you were the correctional officer, it was on your watch. Yes, it was. So shame on you. Guys, the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce is looking for you as a member. ILBCC.org. Join the membership, all right? The Obama Center's going up next week, a grand opening. That was a prime black contractor. Shout out to Ujamaa and the rest of them, okay? That is what we're talking about, getting access to contracts, getting access to procurement, and the people that make those decisions. And we want to keep you accountable and keep you right and keep you paid. The Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, the Wake Up Show Chicago, each and every Saturday at 9 a.m. is brought to you by the Wind Creek Chicago Southland, right there in Homewood or East Hazel Crest. I've been there many times. We love you. Thank you for calling in, and I'll see you on Monday. And again, rest in peace to Spencer Lee Jr. The services will be broadcast live from Vaughn TV at, I got a message, an update, 12 noon. Okay, it's been updated to 12 noon. So at 12 noon, you can go to Vaughn.tv or you can download the WVON app, and then you'll be able to tap on Vaughn TV and watch the services if you can't make it. All right, that's it. That's all. I'm LaDonna Raeh. Thank you, Lorenzo T. Hughes. Sorry, Larry
Thank you.
Ivory, you weren't here, but you're on business. Bye-bye for now.
Get ready to wake up to the pulse of progress. At Five Voices break barriers and illuminate the path towards a more inclusive tomorrow. Follow us across the socials at The Wake Up Show Chicago. Be sure to like